Good evening. Welcome to the Midtown Redevelopment Area Board meeting Tuesday, August 14, 2012, City Hall Chambers, Daytona Beach. I'd like to call the meeting to order. May I have a roll call, please?
Ms. Benjamin?
Here.
Ms. Simonette? Here. Mr. McGee?
Here.
Ms. Cato? Here. I'm sorry.
Present.
Ms. Hurd?
She's not here.
Mr. Williams?
Here.
Dr. Jameson? Here. Chairman Ivey?
Here. But that's our next on the list. I'd like for everybody to rise for our invocation, which will be led by Dr. Tooley, after which the Pledge of Allegiance will be led by Dr. Jameson.
Let us pray. Father God, as we come together on this deliberations for this evening, we ask you to give us your speedy wisdom that we can comprehend and move forward to make a difference in this community. Father, we ask you to help us to be agreeable, and where we disagree, let us do it pleasantly. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. It's present time. I'd like to have approval of the minutes for August 14th. A motion, please. Been a motion and approve in the discussion. All in favor? Aye. Moment's passed. Next we'll have, before we go into the staff report with code enforcement, I'd like to thank Commissioner Reynolds for coming out tonight. And I would like for her to take the time. It was an issue that came up in the city commission meeting dealing with the town and gown with Bethune-Cookman University. So I would like for Commissioner Reynolds to come up at this time. Thank you.
Cassandra Reynolds, 421 Margie Lane, Daytona Beach, Florida. Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman, for accommodating me. I asked that I could come and talk to you this evening for us a little while regarding an insertion that I requested into the Midtown plan. I'd like to thank you all, first of all, for the great work that you're doing for Midtown and for our community, and especially for the work that you've done with this plan. Everybody is raving over it. But I did ask for an insertion. If you have a copy of the plan, the most recent one, on page 22.
On the redevelopment plan.
Yes, Midtown Redevelopment Plan. At our last Community Redevelopment Agency meeting, and that's what I'm speaking to you from my position on that agency tonight. Ask for this insertion. You'll see it in red at the bottom. Innovative public, nonprofit, and private collaborative partnerships to address social problems, including but not limited to a community university partnership with Bethune-Cookman University that will address town and gown issues. That's something that we've been talking about, I think, from even the early phases of the plan, the Midtown, developing the Midtown plan. But now it's finally tentatively in it. And I brought this insertion about because Midtown, you know, most of the underprivileged are in the Midtown area. And many of the organizations, social organizations, nonprofit organizations are in the Midtown area. They take up a lot of it. And I personally think we need those agencies to support a lot of our residents in the area. But the main reason I'm asking for this inclusion and asking for your support of it is that I think that maybe if you would like to partner with any private or non-profit entities in correcting any social ills or doing events or anything, then you need to have it in the plan. Otherwise, the Auditor General is going to say, you know, you're not good fiscal agents and you have to pay any monies back that may go towards that, as we previously experienced. So, telling you from experience, I think that we would really need to look at, you know, doing some things with partnering with other agencies. That's what the whole emphasis is these days, partnerships. And the Midtown Board or and the CRA cannot do it alone. And sometimes the agencies cannot do it alone. So in order for us to be clean, we need to have it in the plan so we can refer to it. And I specifically wanted Bethune-Cookman University referenced because they take up a large footprint in the Midtown area. And we've had a long-standing relationship, no matter what level it's been on, for a long time with Bethune-Cookman. And this would just give more impetus to working together, because now the town and gown is a phenomenon that's been around since the Middle Ages. It's not just, you know, Bethune-Cookman and Daytona Beach. You know, it could be sometimes town versus gown, town and gown. And at one time, I know we really enjoyed a really good relationship between community and the university. And, you know, things change, they waver, but that is one that you have to continually try to cultivate. You just can't let it go. And in order to work on it, maybe you want to give a community festival that we used to have together sometimes, like the Cherry Festival, or any other thing. You would want to have it in your plan so that when you get audited, we get audited, we can say, here it is. And you know it's been approved by the state, right? Read.
Well, it's been approved by you, and we'll hope that the state agrees with us.
Yes, yes. So that's the main reason that I wanted to ask for your support on this. It's just to cover ourselves, to work on it, but to cover ourselves. Yes, questions?
Or not a question, I want to comment after you finish.
Okay. Well, I think that was basically it. It's mainly to, and it's not just Bethune-Cookman now. We can work with other
nonprofit agencies.
Yes.
Commissioner, I really appreciate you coming out this evening and explaining the town and gown. Like she said, it was actually in the plans when we was discussing it during the Midtown Master Plan workshops and community workshops. It's a plan that's being used throughout the United States with schools and universities that are in communities. If there are any questions, I want to open it up for questions so she can answer any questions or entertain any questions at this time. I'm going to start Ms. Simonette. Do you have any questions for the commissioner? Microphone.
Sorry, no, I don't really have a question. I just would like for us really to do work with Bethune-Cookman College, because I think it would really be a good thing for all of us concerned, and particularly in that area. Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Wilburn.
I echo that. As a matter of fact, in my mind, I had been, I echo that because in my mind, I had been thinking of some things that, because I think that could be a very, very valuable partnership between the city and Bethune-Cookman, and I think that's something that we should explore as much as possible.
Dr. Jameson.
In my previous life, I was project coordinator for something called the Florida State University Frenchtown Project, which was a town and gown. And the good part about that is that I was almost 100% grant funded by the Corporation for National Service. And a lot of the instructors on campus were able to get grants to do work as long as they did it in the community. And at that time, there was a federal mandate that a certain percentage of financial aid was to be used to send students, instead of working on campus, to send students out into the community, and I coordinate that program. In any given semester, I had 30 to 40 students working off campus in nonprofit agencies, so I'm very familiar with town and gown and the possibility of grants from a lot of corporations to support that. So I'm glad to see this in here.
Oh, wonderful. Maybe she's a good resource.
Oh, yeah. Mr. Tooley?
No questions.
Ms. McMillan? Ms. Cato, I'm sorry.
I'm glad to see that this is going to be implemented. I'm used to hearing the stories about community meeting and all the different things where the community was not standoffish from the college. So anything that could bring the community and all the outside agencies back into the fold to be connected with the college, it's a plus.
Ms. Benjamin?
No comments.
Mr. McGee?
Well, I believe this is a really good addition to our program. I'm all in favor of it.
Okay. Couple questions, Commissioner, before you go. Reed, when at the meeting, the Commissioner wanted to make sure that we got in contact with Bethune-Cookman so they can understand how this is going to work. Has that been done?
Through Betty Goodman's office, yes, we've been making contact. They have a new community relations person we're working with.
Okay, thank you. I want to let people know that the Commissioner really did not have to come back to this board, and I thank her for giving us the respect of saying, hey, let's talk to the board. Her, and the mayor did that also, for those of you that was not at the meeting. One of the things we wanted to make sure, Commissioner, and this is some of the questions that I had, is that the recommendations should coincide with our master plan. One of the things I wanted to make sure, and I wanted to make sure that if we do the town and gown, that it does not supersede the master plan, that they become a part of the master plan. So I wanted to make sure that we have that, and the Commissioner had an outline of the town and gown that when we get a chance, maybe we can get it to the board so they can see what the information, how it really works. You know, we don't need it tonight, but I remember you had it. I read a lot on it. So I would like a motion that we recommend that this be placed in for the record for the Commissioner can have it when she go back to the City Commission.
Mr. Chairman, if we're in order, I move that this is, that we accept the addition by the Commissioner, and at the same time, I move that we accept the entire redevelopment plan here that has been presented before us.
We can't do the action plan, the redevelopment plan yet because there's going to be some more discussion on that. I wanted to deal with this particular item, number 8, on its own first.
Well, then I move that we accept the town and gown proposal by the commission itself that has been explained by Commissioner Reynolds.
A second.
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Next, we have a staff report dealing with code enforcement. If we have, Charles, if we don't have any questions or anything, if everybody had a chance to look at the staff report, if you have any questions at this time, I'll go around the room so we can address them, Charles. Ms. McMillan, you had any questions on the staff, on code enforcement? And one thing I do encourage, if you have code questions for we can focus more on dealing with the business of the CRA, our community, the Midtown Redevelopment Board, a lot of code issues you'll notice that I asked that we actually call Court, make a record of it, and if it becomes a problem, then we'll bring it back to the Midtown Board. But do you have any questions, Ms. Cato?
No, I don't.
Ms. Benjamin?
Well, I'll get with Charles because in the minutes from last month, he said that he would bring me a report back on the property that we discussed last month on Martin Luther King.
You got that, Charles? Okay. Mr. McGee?
No comment on
Ms. Simonette?
No, I'm okay.
Mr. Williams?
No questions for the staff report.
Dr. Jameson?
I just want to ask one question. When you go down the street, and I see kind of example of it on here, on the sidewalk, the grass is coming up over the sidewalk. Who's responsible for cutting that grass? You know, I'm just curious. Well, I saw one. You know how when you on the sidewalks and you walking
The
down the
right-of-way?
street, the right of ways, yeah. Well,
City's
who's
responsible.
the property owner that's there, or does the city cut that? Look on the last page and see that sidewalk where the grass is coming up. Now that's in front of my house. I'm talking about in front of businesses. They kind of break up the last page. Who's responsible for, is that ever cut? Because it kind of breaks up the sidewalk. I was just curious.
You want to answer that? All right, I'll answer it. That is the responsibility of the homeowner adjacent.
And if it's a business, the business supposed to,
The businesses need to take care of the medians. There are, some special exceptions on state highways, but typically it is a requirement for the adjacent homeowner or property owner to maintain those areas.
there? Okay, thank you.
The city may sometimes deal with the sidewalk itself if there's cracks in it, and we need to maintain the sidewalk. That'd be one reason.
Just curious. Thank you.
And Mr. Chair, as a matter of fact, at my neighborhood crime watch meeting last night, one of the persons that were members of my crime watch asked me if I would write down Martin Luther King, and I saw where actually on Martin Luther King, in cracks in the road, there's grass growing up in the cracks in the road.
That is the city's responsibility to maintain
Okay.
the sidewalks or the streets.
Can we please check on that, Mr. Tooley?
No.
Any other questions, statements, comments? Charles, you have any comments on the code enforcement? If not, we'd like to move to item number 7, action item development 2012-074, 555 West International Speedway.
Good afternoon, Board.
Good evening.
This is item number 7, action item DV 2012-074, 555 West International Speedway Boulevard. This is a request by Joseph H. Hopkins. He was here last month as a discussion item to explain and answer some of the questions that you may have, that you had at that time regarding this particular project. He's here tonight. We did have some changes. He can highlight those changes, bring you up to date. I know we had some questions about the fence in that area, and he can tell you some of the changes that have been made to the site plan and answer any questions you may have.
While Mr. Hopkins is coming up, like Charles said, last month was only like a couple of items that was requested that Ken was referred to and was asking Mr. Hopkins to correct. Ken, you have any questions?
I do not.
Ms. Simonette?
No questions.
Mr. Williams? Dr. Jameson? Mr.
No
Tooley?
questions.
Ms. Cato? Ms. Benjamin?
No.
Okay, I think staff has answered all the questions that was of concern from the board from last month. If there are no other questions, I'd like a motion for approval, please.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I make a motion that action item DEV 2012-07455, West International Speedway, be approved.
Second.
Any questions? All in favor?
I'm sorry, Mr. Chair. I'm
Yes.
sorry to interrupt, but I think we want to ask if there was any comments from the public.
Okay. Are there any questions from the public? Any comments? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion passed. On our next item is item number 8. It's an action item, Mr. Amendment to the Midtown Redevelopment Plan. Charles?
Board, this is the amendment plan to the Midtown Master Plan. You should have a memo dated August the 7th from the Redevelopment Director, which explains a lot of the changes that was requested and placed into this particular document. They're highlighted in red, some are underscored and marked through. You had an opportunity to review those. Mr. Berger's here and I'll help answer any questions you may have regarding the changes.
Okay. Ms. Kaler, do you have any questions on this item? Any changes, any comments?
I believe they answered them in last month's meeting, the concerns I had at the board meeting.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Benjamin?
No.
Mr. McGee? No. Ms. Simonette? No. Mr. Williams?
No, sir.
Dr. Jameson?
No.
Mr. Tooley?
I'm kind of concerned about the ambiguity of the language on page 19, where it says the following is a list of capital projects to be completely or partially funded and constructed by the Community Redevelopment Agency when funding is available. Now, I don't know about anybody else, but I know what is being said, but the way that it's worded would make one think that it could be extended out indefinitely.
I'm glad he brought that up. That was one of my notes. Also, is page 19 on dealing with the same thing. So read, where are we at on this particular page?
Well, the recommendation that we were receiving was to remove some of these dates that are throughout the document and insert some language that deals with just what you call an ambiguity, and I think, if there's a better way to word this, we'll take whatever recommendations you have. Again, there is no set schedule for some of these, and this is the second time we've had a date in here for some capital projects, and we don't reach those dates. So the concern is there are dates in here, and they're not tied to a specific capital program that has funds behind it. So it's a little misleading in that we don't have the ability necessarily to meet it.
Okay.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so what you're basically saying is that you're not sure if it will be funded during that funding cycle.
Right.
Exactly.
Okay. But we need to make every attempt to get it funded during that funding cycle. The reason I'm saying that is because based on what's written here, we can wait indefinitely and say that the funds were not available. And we can wait until after the deadline to put in a grant and then try to put the grant in and say that the funding is not available. Not saying that anyone would be that devious to do it.
I don't know.
But it can be done. And that's my concern. Could we change that to saying that during the funding cycle, and whatever funds are available during that funding cycle, we use them if we get them. If we don't get them, we make a report saying that we didn't get them. And the reason I'm saying that, once again, is because of when you keep putting things off with no definite date. I mean, all of us have been through goal setting and things of that nature. If there's no definite date, you're not going to do whatever that goal is. So if we say during that funding cycle, that will give us more of a definite date.
Ms. Cato,
Looking at the copy.
your mic.
Sorry. Looking at the wording from the one we received last month, it did not state when funding was available. It just said that would be completely or partially funded and constructed by the Community Redevelopment Agency by 2015. But in here, I see we struck out 2015 and added when funding is available.
And that's
So
basically what
what?
Mr. Tulio was saying.
Right, but I'm concerned about the one we had last month.
Well,
And that was the questions that I asked and they were answered, but now this is coming back.
that's why Mr. Tulio, and I'm glad that everybody took the time to read this particular portion, because if it was in the budget at one time, my question is going to be, where are the funds now? And then when we sit back and look at it, we already know West International Speedway Boulevard project has been approved, and it's supposed to start in January 2013, correct?
That's
So
right.
I think we should have a more definitive schedule when we're dealing with the improvements in this particular plan on our capital projects. Because what'll happen is the money will keep getting shifted around and it'll never get done. And that's the portion that we're at now. And rather than take when funding is available, if we can't get it during the funding cycle, then I'd rather for it to go back to about 2015 and hold some accountability to the city to make sure our community capital projects are being done.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, ma'am.
I have a question. Because what I'm seeing and what I understand from reading the newspaper is like the Orange Avenue project. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
The Orange Avenue project has been, we've talked about Orange Avenue so long. And now they're saying there's funds. My question is to them, if you're going to do the project to meet the bridge, let the project start from Nova Road and come down.
Well, I'm glad you did bring that up, because if everybody have the handout, one of the things, if we know that the funding is going to start on Orange Avenue according to the handout that we received, again, that could be another definitive date that could actually be put into the redevelopment plan. So for that purpose, again, that's another amendment that I think we should have on the redevelopment plan, in this redevelopment plan, dealing with capital projects on number 8. So before we even could approve that, that's one of the corrections that we would like done. Is that what I'm hearing from the board? Mr. Tooley?
Yeah, because well, according to the article, Mr. Chisholm said that within 30 to 45 days, the city should have an answer.
And part of the Magnolia Avenue project has been completed.
Mm-hmm.
So some of these here things here should be totally updated, Charles, before it comes back to us.
So, once again, I'm just concerned with the wording. it's not tying down anything.
Not holding them accountable.
Right, and basically what it's saying is that, well, when the funding's available, we'll do it.
Kind of turns into the way they did.
Right.
So in order for this to get passed, Reed, we need to have either a definitive date during the funding cycle, or I prefer to be by 2015, along with the Orange Avenue project. Because maybe that'll force them, like Ms. Benjamin is saying, maybe you'll start down at our end and work your way back to the bridge for a change. That's what we're asking.
And Mr. Chairman, the reason why I say that, because normally when it comes to Midtown, by the time the project gets to Midtown, there's no more funds.
Then instead of having brick, we'll have cement. That's basically what you're saying. So, but I'm sorry, I just figured I'd add a little, humor into it tonight. Are there any more questions dealing on number 8? You had those changes, Reed?
Well, I have your comments, and I don't have an exact language right now, but I'm going to be passing along to the City Commission your comments, and then as staff, we'll try to construct something, I think, after today, if I could just...
Okay, so basically what you're asking us to do is continue this?
No.
Because you won't get no approval.
Well, again, if you want to recommend on the, again, you have item 8 in there.
Right.
And move this forward, so the commission...
What I would like to do is that we recommend the changes.
Yes.
The changes be made, then we'll come back and then we'll approve it. Because it's no difference than things going back the other way. Because that's just one that Mr. Tooley has. I got like another 14 more.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Can we make the recommendations and approve it contingent upon those things being changed? Can we do that? Because we want to move this forward.
Exactly.
We don't want to continue to drag it out. If the board makes the recommendation, it's approved contingent upon those recommendations being implemented, and go forward to the City Commission with those changes.
The only thing we want to make sure, if this, after we get through with all these changes this evening, and we make the recommendation for it to move forward, when we go to City Commission, that these recommendations are in the City Commission packet. Because that's why the commissioner had to come out tonight, because we approved something and it went to the commission and didn't come back to us. So that's why I'm like a little hesitant on doing it. But if we get the recommendations, I want to make sure that the recommendations are correct based on what the board is saying, and it moves forward to the commission. If we're going to do it that way, then I don't think the board will have a problem doing it. But if we're not going to do it that way, it won't go forward.
Mr. Commissioner? Mr. Chair, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Can we go ahead and deal with the specific language and go ahead and lock that down tonight?
Well, that's what Mr. Tooley...
And just actually deal with the specific language so that the language is exactly what we want to do it tonight, so that it, and it'd be contingent upon that specific language.
Right, that's what he just said. That's what Mr. Tooley just said. That's what Mr. Bryan said, based on the recommendations that we're talking about. So as long as we have that cleared, that's how we want to move the recommendations forward, then we won't have a problem doing that. So, Mr. Tooley, if you're going to state it the way that you're recommending that it moves forward, I would like for you to state that for the record, for Mr. Bryant or Mr. Berger will be able to have that language.
I would say completely or partially funded and constructed by Community Redevelopment Agency during each funding cycle. And the reason I'm saying it that way is that lets us know that every time there's a funding cycle, we're going to try to do it. Now, if we had left it at 2015, that would give 3 years to try to get the funding.
And I think it would be easier if you left it
easier
by 2015.
And I'm kind of gathering that you liked it the way it was.
Right.
Don't change it.
Exactly.
Right.
So we can pass that on as the recommendation.
Correct.
That'll make it easy.
Well, there's something, the language was actually changing, because he wanted to make sure that he highlighted with each funding cycle.
Right.
So the language is going to change just a little bit.
They're gonna take out if funds are available. That's my understanding.
Right.
Am I correct?
Right.
Okay.
Mr. Chair,
Just a minute.
It would be easier if we just kept by 2015.
Right.
Because that gives us 3 years to try to get the funding.
Right.
And that's what was in it last month, on the changes, if you, according to the one last month, and what we have, it had 2015. So if we
That's a
can
lot
leave that.
easier
Yeah.
than trying to do every funding cycle. Makes sense.
So you had that, Reed?
That's a lot easier.
Okay, thank you.
Done. We'll put that in there. Thank you.
Ken has a question. Mr. McGee, I'm sorry.
Yeah. I have a problem with this in terms of the standards to which it would be constructed. That if I understand this, these, am I not being heard?
Got to know.
These improvements would occur from the property line on out in the street, across the street, and to the property line on the far side of whatever street we're talking about here. And what I was concerned about is that that's a 3-foot wide sidewalk. And it's not at all in conformance with the intent of the master plan. And how do you lock this thing in? Do we lock this in by 2015, getting an improvement on those streets that that we don't want to improve that way at all?
That's another good question. Another one of mine. 19 down to 17 now. Because what Ken is saying, if we lock in the redevelopment plan with the master plan, I think when we're trying to move them together, which they should be moving along together, I think we're getting them mixed up. And I say that because it goes back to what Ken just said. If we're sitting up trying to implement a master plan and a redevelopment plan at the same time, one going to supersede the other eventually. So one of the things we want to try to make sure is that the master plan is not the appendix. The master plan should be the plan, okay? And then we're hoping that the redevelopment area plan fits into the master plan. That's the consensus I think that the board really wants to see, and the community, the way that we was actually leading into the master plan and having these different seminars. I would like to make sure we had that clarified, and maybe Thursday night we probably can get it clarified even more, and let it become a recommendation also that the master plan be a standalone docket, and the redevelopment plan fits into the master plan. Is that basically what you're?
Well, sort of. I mean, that's a step in the right direction. However, if you were to amend this to say by 2015 in substantial conformance with the intended improvements according to the master plan, that would give you some sort of standards to work toward. Now, the problem with that, there are no intended standards.
Again, that's why we think that the master plan should be a standalone
Master
document.
plan does not offer.
And it doesn't have it in there yet. And that's what Professor Huffman is coming in for we can start getting the different standards into the master plan, because according to what I've been told, even the Clarion is going to have subsections that's not complete. And if we try to pass these different amendments and area plans, everything is going with just a shell, and it's going to become a problem. And I think that's what Ken is saying. If I'm wrong, correct me now. Help.
If I were to look at the renderings, am I supposed to respond to that? Thank you. If I were to look at the renderings prepared by Florida A&M and the way they've treated the public sidewalks, and I would look at the reality of the public sidewalks in Midtown, there's no way you're going to accomplish that. We do not have the tools to do it.
So basically, you recommending that the master plan be a standalone document, and that the guidelines from the redevelopment plan be included into the master plan.
I don't know that I know what that means.
Okay, like currently right now, the master plan is going to be an appendix in the redevelopment plan. Am I correct? According to what I was
That's
reading.
correct.
And what we're trying to say is, I think the master plan should become the driving document, which will lead to the flexibility that if the sidewalks are currently at 3 feet now, and the master plan calls for 4 foot or 6 foot sidewalks, if we go to a walkable community, then there'll be, the guidelines should allow that particular area to go into the 6 foot sidewalks.
8.
If it was, or 8, whatever the case may be, when the standards are set, then I think you won't have to come back and say, well, the master plan is saying this. If the master plan becomes the document and let the redevelopment plan fit into the master plan, you got all the flexibility that you need. Am I saying that the correct way, Charles?
I think so.
You understand what I'm saying?
Well, I understand what you're attempting to suggest here, and I think that the state law and the requirements tie the planning and the policies of the CRA are based on the redevelopment plan, neighborhood plans, master plans, lots of other planning documents that are going to be the vision and the standards, the land development code, the comprehensive plan. They're all going to be allies and be a part of what the redevelopment plan will speak to. But typically these days, when you see a redevelopment plans, when they get created, they actually include the graphics you see in the Midtown plan that was created, and can even get specific to 4 to 6 feet or what have you. And we, of course, didn't do that when we started these plans. And so we had a text type of plan without the graphics, without the vision. And so by putting the appendix in, now we've incorporated it into the plan. It's a part of the plan. I mean, maybe the word appendix is not as respectful as what we should tie it to, but the whole idea is that when we talk about the policies and the goals of what we're trying to accomplish, that Midtown plan, master plan, in the back is a part of that plan. And so you have to refer to it when you're looking at our plan. And I would recommend we keep it that way and not take the master plan out as some independent document, because the question is, what legal force does it have?
Well, that's one of the things we're trying to get to, make the master plan a legal document. Go ahead, Ken.
If I look at the drawings that were prepared by, and I don't know who they're prepared by, but they were prepared for the whoever takes care of the streets. Well, yeah, but the Public Works. And there's a whole set of plans. They're ready to go. I don't know if they've been bid yet or not, but they're bid ready. And those plans do not match our imagination that we want to apply to a very important avenue in our Midtown development area.
Basically,
It is not compatible.
to what we're trying to do, what Ken is basically saying is that if it's a set of plans, like they already have the Orange Avenue projects basically set to go because they had the funding for it. Now, are the sidewalks in the Orange Avenue plan going to fit the master plan and our redevelopment plan? That's going to be another driving force that could slow things down, and I believe that's what Ken is
Yeah,
saying.
and I think I think a simple suggestion was offered to me here, and that maybe helps in regards to the streetscape, and that is that on page 19, where it begins, the sentence just before we talk about the project specifically, we can say that where we're talking about the date, the following is a list of capital projects to be completed or partially funded and constructed by the Community Redevelopment Agency by 2015, okay, keeping that, in accordance with the master plan appendix B or C.
And if I can chime in, if you're concerned right now that the master plan lacks detail, then you can say in accordance with the master plan as it's attached or would hereafter be amended. So if the plan's later amended to include specific elevations or illustrations or dimensions, then all of those would be incorporated into the redevelopment plan as well.
I like that language a whole lot better than anything we've discussed tonight. Now, but let's take this being the case, though. If I bought a property on ISB, I bought it up to the edge of the sidewalk on the inboard side edge of the sidewalk, and the master plan says that sidewalk's going to be 6 feet wide.
2 feet.
And am I buying the master plan?
I don't think it's as easy as that, because
I
it
don't think
it
it
just
is
depends.
either, but it's
I
a
think what we
problem.
would say, if we have a development in, the question is, one, does the city itself, I mean, you're talking about a public works project sometimes, for example, Orange Avenue or MLK. You're going to build it and look at it, and are you guys going to build by this and this plan? And if it has some specifics in it about this size, does everyone understand? That's what the Midtown Board is saying is how it wants it to tie it into specifically. And the closest you can get to doing that is to say here, in accordance with the Midtown Master Plan.
Mr. Chairman.
But we have to make sure that it's worded like Attorney Gross has just said in this particular section.
Right.
I'm just here to be a nuisance.
That makes sense.
The master plan that we've worked on for more than a year is more than 2. You lose track of time when you're having fun. The master plan, the character it's trying to develop for the Midtown area is a pedestrian neighborhood. The character that you're dealing with, and that is the real estate, is a 3-foot sidewalk. Most of the time. Sometimes it isn't 3 feet. Sometimes there isn't any sidewalk.
I think on Martin Luther King, between Orange Avenue and ISB, there's room for larger sidewalks in that particular area. Not every area is like, even if you look at Mary McLeod Bethune, where they did the no improvements going down there, certain areas have larger sidewalks, and then it'll go back to the 3 foot, and then it'll span back out. So I think it needs to be probably where applicable, would probably satisfy that.
Well, we can't turn this meeting into a planning meeting, but if you took these beginning on page 19, if you took these 6 items that begin with ISB as item 1 and streetscape improvements on Keach Street. And if you could separate those out and give some some set of rules that would say that those areas have got to fit the needs of a pedestrian community. And a pedestrian community, in my opinion, is ideal for Midtown. It is, according to some, of folks who like to meander and I don't know, what was the other word, though? Congregate. and there's a whole lot of truth to that, and we're unable to do it.
As we make the walkable communities, Ken, I want to make sure we have the verbiage to
I'd like
complete
to turn
that.
it back to Mr. Gross's language there for a minute ago. Say it again.
Well, it was mostly what Reed said, but what you would add at the beginning of that list on page 19. Let me turn to the document. So after the phrase by 2015, you would say in accordance with the master plan attached as exhibit whatever it is to the redevelopment plan, or as it may hereafter be amended.
Reed, can we make sure that we had that language going forth toward the recommendations, please?
Yes.
Mr. Tooley?
Yep. Could we get the secretary to read that for us, please?
So the full sentence at the bottom of page 19 above the enumerated items would read, the following is a list of capital projects to be completely or partially funded and constructed by the Community Redevelopment Agency by 2015 with the master plan attached or as hereafter amended.
Okay. Now, my question is also directed to Attorney Gross. According to Florida law, which document is recognized as the primary document?
For what purpose?
I'm saying with what we're dealing with right now.
The primary focus of a redevelopment plan is that it's a guide to help a community redevelopment agency make decisions, most important of which are decisions regarding the expenditure of tax increment fund dollars, which are the special tax dollars that are set aside in redevelopment areas. So if you create language like what I've just suggested, the redevelopment plan is basically saying that if those improvements are done, they've got to be done in accordance with the master plan. Okay.
And the reason I'm asking that is because I know that according to Florida land codes, there are certain documents that carry more weight than other documents, and that's what they recognize as the primary document. That, I think, is what we're dealing with in this particular situation.
Well, in this particular instance, the redevelopment plan isn't even addressing what private property owners should or shouldn't do. The redevelopment plan is addressing what the CRA would have as its priorities. Okay. I think what you're talking about might arise in other situations where you see redevelopment plan language that purports to encourage or discourage certain types of property uses. And in those instances, the redevelopment plan doesn't have any coercive legal effect. The Land Development Code does, the Comprehensive Plan does. The redevelopment plan would need to be translated into some sort of zoning or land development code language if the goal was to do something enforceable with private property owners.
Okay.
May I ask a question? This might be on or off the subject. Last meeting, we were told that we could have a copy of the city comprehensive plan.
Mm-hmm.
Is that going to be available for us this evening?
Not today.
I'm in the process of doing it. It's a lot of print.
What I would like to do, Charles, at this time, are there any more questions on this particular document?
I'm having a concern because we keep putting this off, and then every time, now when we talk about this, we're going to then go again, no funding, because we're going to have to then go buy property to make the sidewalks bigger. I could see us in 2015 saying we have no money still. Because we keep, how are we going to be able to do the funding to purchase the extra property?
May I
Yes.
answer that? What we just talked about, where you change the comprehensive plan, the land development code, for the private land, we wouldn't buy it. We would simply put in the provisions for setbacks and other ways to actually make that plan a reality in terms of what people are building to. Whether you do an overlay district or however we construct that, that's the challenge ahead for all of us. It's the part that Professor Huffman is addressing, is assisting us with as well. So those will be some of the next pieces that you'll see in terms of moving this forward after we get the policies and the goals moved out here. So you can expect that over the next few months we'll be dealing with land development code, with the comprehensive planned changes that we can recommend right now.
Okay.
And you say that was private property?
That's for private property, and to the extent that it shares the road, it guides us as well in terms of how that will be developed.
Any more questions? Are all your questions answered? All right, any questions by the audience? Comments? So I give you 2 minutes. When you come up, please state your name, address, please.
Yes, Johnny Ponder, 885 Maley Street, Daytona Beach. My thing is that the master plan, I've been getting some coaching over here. But my thing is that we worked hard on the master plan and the comprehensive and all that. The master plan should fit in there like a glove because there's nothing in there about Midtown. We have worked for this master plan. This is what I'm trying to get over to everybody. Staff is trying to confuse us as usual. My thing is the master plan needs to be the document of choice. It needs to be number one. That's why it's called the master plan. We don't have everything in there. I understand that. But my thing is, that's why we got Professor Hoffman coming back, so that we can nail down these different things that you all are talking about. But the master plan needs to be the master. Redevelopment needs to fit inside the master plan. It needs to be an appendix to the master plan. Because when the developers come, they need to understand when they're looking, and you're going to build a hotel in Midtown, you need to say, okay, I know the history. That's redevelopment plan. That's the history where they came from. Now I want to know what my rules are, what I need to go by. That is the master plan. It doesn't need to be appendix to anything. It needs to be standing alone. If you have 2 separate plans, okay. If you want to have that, you have the redevelopment plan, and then you have the master plan. Master plan stands alone. This is what we work for. We have specific things. No. Do we have everything? No, we don't. But this is what Professor Hoffman is coming for. Then when we have our workshops, you all have your workshops, then you all can say, Professor Hoffman, we need to address these different things. Sidewalks, we need to address these different things. Okay? But we do not need to be second. The master plan does not need to be second in anything. It needs to stand. Thank you.
You're welcome. And
John Nicholson, 413 North Cranberry Avenue. Been there, done that. The city's done this for years. You're not going to get what you want. You've been down Orange Avenue, you know what it looks like. You know where the Miller Lehman building is? In your master plan, do you really expect them to cut off 10 or 20 feet of that building? Because it comes right up to the sidewalk. All right, you need 20 feet. A road is 12 feet per lane. You need two 12s at least. Are you going to do a 2-lane or 4-lane? Everything else, Ingram, Mason, they're all 4 lanes. So are you going to keep it 2 lanes? If you're going to stay at 2 lanes, remember you need 5 feet on either side, or 10 feet or 8 feet on either side for sidewalks, plus your 12 feet. Do you have the room in there? You don't. I've been down that road plenty of times. You don't have the room there. You got to take property. No matter where you look on that road, if you're going to take property, you're going to take their sidewalk. Pearson, take 20 feet in front of their business, they're not having parking. You take that little handy cut or whatever it is, little church thing off of Keach, that's half their building. They have to lose their building. A lot of the buildings would have to be lost to get the width that you want. We did it on A1A. When A1A was widened, there was a place called the Streamline where NASCAR was founded. They took the front of the building off. There was a partial there. They just chopped it right off. It lost its Art Deco, its historic frontage. There are 5 businesses on A1A that lost the ability to rent the property because they don't have parking in the front. So one Greek lady's been there for almost 30 years, not able to rent her property. The city says you can't rent it. You don't have parking. There are consequences. Remember, I was there when the city told the county, don't pave it because we're going to come in with infrastructure. And then the community said, well, we want this, and we want this, and we want this. So that $1.5 million roadway construction is now $17 million. The $250,000 swimming pool turned to $1.8 million. So when you keep asking for these things, it delays it.
It's 2 minutes.
It took 7 years. Okay, so check what you're asking for. We got screwed on Main Street. It lasted too long. We lost 9 businesses. On International, we lost 5. So which businesses are you going to say you want to lose? Look at this carefully. All right, thank you.
Okay, Reed, what I'm going to do, because I do have a lot of questions, I'll meet with staff, with Charles and yourself, and make sure we have these recommendations. And if there are any more questions from the board, Mr. President, I'd like to have a motion of approval, please.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the redevelopment plan, Midtown redevelopment plan amendment, contingent upon the recommendations and wording.
Is there a second?
I second the motion.
Questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any nays? Motion carried. Charles, do you have anything on item number 9, discussion item? Do you have any information that you want to do on that? Reed?
Yes, sir. We just wanted to really use this opportunity to let you know that we're looking at a citywide home ownership down payment assistance program of some kind. It's not constructed. There's nothing been done with it, but Emory Counselor, Community Development, and myself have been charged with coming up with some information on it, and we'd like to take any suggestions you have. The obvious idea behind this, and this is coming from our city commission, is to try to find ways to bring the homesteading numbers up, because we're very low as a city, and particularly when you look at some of our redevelopment areas, they're extremely off balance compared to a lot of Florida communities. So we would like to explore different ways to incentivize making that happen. And right now, the first thought was to look at some kind of a down payment assistance program. And I think several years ago, we had constructed an agreement for some of these vacant lots that were out there. If we could get somebody to build on those lots, there was the idea that we could provide some down payment or incentive by actually reducing the cost of those lots for someone to construct as homeowners. And obviously, the market fell out of the bottom, but now is the time to start talking about how we can make that happen again, how we can bring more homeowners in here, whether they're building new homes or they're taking a rental and converting it to a homesteaded property. So just want to make you aware of it and welcome any suggestions. Call Charles or myself, or if you want to make any comments this evening.
Thank you. Any questions to Reed on this particular program? If not, thank you, Reed. Item number 10 is board priorities. Charles, is that something that we really need to discuss this evening? Because one of the things dealing with that board priority is that $1 million being moved over to us, and I haven't heard any feedback on that yet, because that's what's going to drive the board priority. So if we don't have that at this current time,
Mr. Chair, I just want to keep that in front of the board members to continue to contact me and update any changes you may have. But I did give you a list, I think, either last month or the month before, of the list of board priorities that we had put in place. So if you need a copy of it, or if you have some changes, just give me a call and I'll get it to you.
okay, thank you, Charles. Charles, stay. Item number 11, the redevelopment project updates.
Okay, on this particular one, I just wanted to give you an update and let you know some of the things I've been working on since last month. Of course, you have the flyer for the meeting, the community meeting on Thursday at the Midtown Community Center from 4 to 6 p.m. Professor Hoffman will be here. It's for the community to view our Midtown redevelopment plan. We have scheduled for him to do a short presentation at the beginning of the meeting, about a 20-minute presentation to bring the public updated on the plan itself, and we will have displays out in the hallway so they can go around, view the displays and ask questions. I'll be there, and of course Professor Hoffman. I'm asking all the board members to please come out and be present and show your face and let the community see you and help us with getting this plan out to the community. I sent out a lot of flyers, a lot of emails. Actually, there's an article in the Daytona Times on this, and Susan Saborn has been working with me to get the information out to the public so we can have a good showing and people can come out and review the plan. Also, since the last meeting, we had a RFP that went out and came back from the police station. You probably saw the article in the news journal about Florida Space Coast Law School. It's the one that replied to the RFP. The committee met with them, and right now that RFP has been sent to the city manager to negotiate with the law school. Also, we had a strategic plan for the Midtown Commercial Redevelopment Consultant that went out. We selected two different companies that we will be interviewing Friday, sitting down, talking with them, get more information, and after that meeting, we'll make a selection as a consultant. Also, we've had within the last couple of weeks participated with the backpack giveaway. One was at Derbyshire, the other one was at the Dickinson Center this past Saturday. We had both good turnouts at both of those particular backpack giveaways. We were able to give out a lot of backpacks, and we thanks to Walmart and Pepsi for participating and helping give these kids opportunity to get backpacks to go back to school. Right now I'm working on the events for the Christmas holidays. I've talked to you about them. I think I gave you a list of the activities that we're planning for Midtown. We call it Light Up Midtown, starting on December the 1st and going every Saturday December the 1st, the 8th, the 15th, and the 22nd. We actually have a parade on tap for the 8th of December. And so we're asking for your suggestions for that can help us with that. I know a lot of you all belong to different organizations. Please contact me and have those organizations contact me so we can make these events good for our Midtown area. On July the 26th, we had the Villas at Halifax 2 groundbreaking, thanks to the board members that came out and participated at that particular groundbreaking ceremony. It was a good set, putting up the wall and doing some of the infrastructure for that particular project. You have before you, I gave you a copy of the article about the Orange Avenue repairs that came out in the News Journal. I want to make sure you're aware of that. And lastly, if you go down George Ingram, we had an eyesore there, 825 George Ingram. That house has been demolished. So we're working, trying to demo some of the problem areas that we have in the Midtown area. If you run across a property that is having a lot of issues with us, please give me a call, give code enforcement a call. Board members, I need to talk to you. I want you to call me, email me, let me know what's going on. As you can see by the things that I've talked to you tonight, it's been a lot of things that we're doing has been keeping me inside the office, in addition to the weather. So we want you to give us a call. If you see something, please let us know, make us aware of it. If it's a code issue, I'll make sure that we get it to our code officer so we could try to address it. And Ms. Benjamin, I'm going to address your issue. We can talk about it. Give me a call. Thank you.
Thank you, Charles. Board, if you go to, there's an addendum on you. We have a discussion item. It's Development 2012-041. It's the BCU Larry Hanfield Athletic Center Training Practice Field. This time, Charles, who's presenting on this, please? I think it's Parker Mecklenburg on behalf of Bethune-Cookman University.
Good evening, everybody. Parker Mecklenburg, 1729 Ridgewood Avenue. I'm the civil engineer, landscape architect on the project. We're going to be before you guys next month for the formal public hearing on this project, but we wanted to get out here today and give you some information, see if we can get any specifics from you that I can address next month when we come back. I got a little handout I'd like to hand out if I could. Sure.
Park, before you get started,
Yes, sir.
we get them, let the board look over it for a couple of minutes, and then we'll all get started in case they have any questions.
All right.
Right quick, because it is just for discussion, and then we'll move it from there, please.
Okay.
What do you want to do? We don't know.
We have direct your questions to Paul.
If I can, it's really better to ask those
Yeah.
questions on the record, since we're.
Okay, Parker, at this present time, I hope everybody had a chance to get a quick glance at it. Parker, what I would like to do, I think a lot of the board members, I know some of us probably have seen this before. Ms. Cato, you had any questions on it? Because you were just asking.
As before, my main concern was the increase in traffic in that neighborhood, lighting, because I know when football practice season is in, once daylight saving time changes, they will need lighting beginning around 5:30-ish. And the traffic, the borders for the property, what would be the buffers for the property owners that are abutting right up to this football field?
As part of my presentation, I was going to handle that.
Okay.
And I'll discuss those items, and then if you have any questions, once I kind of give that to you, I'll be happy to answer them.
Okay, thank you, Parker.
Noise will also be a problem.
Yes, sir.
Okay, Parker.
Okay. As you guys probably have seen, the new Larry Hanfield Athletic Center is just about complete. My office has been doing the final inspections for the site work, and hopefully they'll be getting a CO and moving into the new project. So next month, we're going to be before you guys with the potential for a synthetic football field / multi-purpose field that will occur behind the project. What I'm showing you today, we've had 4 neighborhood meetings over the last year. Different venues, different folks turned out, a lot of input, and based on what the neighbors told us, we made a number of different changes. So going to the first exhibit, let's see if I can do this here. Yes, this is the project aerial as it exists before the new building was built, and it shows you the bigger site is the site for the practice field, and the smaller site to the right is the additional parking that will be provided. And one of the things that I'd like to mention is initially we had the parking on the other side of Jesse at the intersection of Jesse and Magnolia. As a result of going through the staff approval process and the neighborhood meetings, we've relocated the parking to the east on the other side of Jesse Street to be next to the commercial area instead of the residential. Flipping on to the next exhibit. This is the site plan that is presently been constructed and under construction. All the improvements you see on this rendering have been completed, with the exception being in the bottom right-hand corner, the paved parking lot. There's a building that exists there right now that the people that are in that building are going to be relocating to the new building. So they'll relocate, and then the plan will be completed.
Say that again, Parker.
Okay, let me go back. Can the parking lot that's at the bottom, there's 15 parking stalls in gray?
Yeah.
If you go out there right now, there's an existing building, and some of the functions that are going to be occurring in the new building are presently occurring in that building. So the new building gets CO'd, then everybody moves from there into the new building under a temporary CO, then that building is demolished.
That long spine that connects,
Yeah, that's kind of the Hall of Fame. It's a walkway that connects the pre-existing building to the new athletic center. So it provides an interconnection from the existing building. When I say existing, what's been there for years and what was just built. I'm not rated on this piece of equipment yet. I probably can point on the smaller version.
That's fine.
Okay. Okay. All right.
But that small version is just fine.
All right. Ken, right now, where this gray is,
Yeah.
there's a building that exists that houses some of the athletics. So this is now built, this is built, these people are going to move in here, that building's going to be demoed, and this site plan would
Okay.
have that move forward. Now, if we're successful next month with the practice field, you can see on the next sheet is the rendering that shows the building, and you'll see that parking lot that I had pointed to before is no longer part of the plan. The required parking has been moved across Jesse Street. So if the practice field is approved and we move forward, the parking will then be constructed further to the east. And one of the things we did to address the traffic concerns, you might recall when we first came to you guys, it's been almost 2 years ago now, I think, when this was first presented. There was concern about people crossing ISB mid-block. With the city, my office designed the 2 new intersections and the colored concrete that are out there with the 2 signals. Both of those intersections have pedestrian crossings, buttons you push to get across the street. Unfortunately, I was out doing an inspection the other day, and some folks were mid-block. That's going to have to be addressed by policing it and things like that. But I think that's a concern to everybody, that a student's going to jaywalk and put themselves in danger. But we do have, both to the east and west of this project and potentially the practice field, signalized intersections. That was part of the improvements. So in the rendering that you see with the practice field, I also have
Another question.
I'll pass this around, but this is the synthetic turf. So this is going to be a synthetic turf field, much like the last 2 that were just done out at Embry-Riddle with their soccer field and softball field. Go ahead, Ken.
In the upper left-hand corner, what is that gray area with the squiggly lines?
That's an existing parking lot that supports the existing apartment building. It's not part of our project.
Okay.
Where's the multiple? You said something about a multi-purpose.
What I meant by that is part of the reason the university is constructing this synthetic field, it's for the football team, when they play teams that have synthetic fields, they want to practice on a synthetic field that week before they play. But it's also going to be striped for all the other sports, like they want to have more women-related sports, like women's lacrosse, things like that. There's going to be soccer. So this field not only will be for practice football, but it'll also be utilized by the university for other sports.
Not the band.
No, in fact, the band is going to be prohibited through this process on using this practice field. That's one of the things that we heard loud and clear from the neighborhood.
Where will the spectators be?
This is a practice field. It's not like a stadium where they're going to have a football game.
But let's just talk about a ladies' soccer game.
Right now, if you go to the new building, I was there today, and you look up at the second floor, there are tables and chairs on the second floor for viewing of this area behind. And then there's not really any plans for bleachers for the public to come and, have a football game. This is a practice facility.
Excuse me. At a practice facility, the people come out, the neighbors come out. They're all over everywhere. So that means that the neighborhood is going to be congested, because as soon as Bethune-Cookman start practicing there, everybody's going to be out there.
I can appreciate that. Okay, the next rendering, I think it's been touched on, the lighting, the noise, the buffering of this project is important. So this landscape plan that you see on this rendering, We basically have oak trees at 30-foot centers. That's as close as you can plant them and have them be healthy. They run around the perimeter. We also have a continuous hedge along the road frontages, Jesse Street, for example, and then along the property lines that abut residential, we have a screening wall proposed. And then on the other frontages, there'll be the Bethune-Cookman standard wrought iron fence with the brick pillars. And there is an example of that a little later on in this presentation. But we basically have enough landscaping to help with screening the development, help with the noise abatement. Really, though, the thing that's going to control the negative issues relating to lighting and noise are going to be the hours of operation. So when we come before you next month, we'll have some standards that have been suggested by the university and the staff and present those about what time the lights are going to be turned off, no band practice, things like that.
Would it be possible that we could get a written narrative with respect to how you all are going to deal with noise, light, and just the congestion that this is going to create in those neighborhoods?
I think that's what we're doing here tonight, is trying to find out what are the issues. So next month when we come, hopefully we got some good answers. Yes, we can.
But, I mean, this would be written, and if we wanted to take it and give it to an acoustical engineer, for instance, and get a third-party opinion of what the noise would really be like, there would be enough information there that he could figure out what he thinks it is.
We could tell you what we're up to. I mean, there's going to be coaches and whistles, and, you know, we've all been to football practice, that kind of thing. You know, Ken, I'm not an acoustical engineer, but I am a civil engineer, and I think if you're next to the thing and a whistle's being blown by a coach, you don't need an acoustical engineer to know you're going to hear it. This is a practice field. There's going to be kids playing. It's not... there are decibel levels that are in the city code that if you're a nuisance and you exceed certain levels, we're not going to be anywhere near any of that. But if it's 12 o'clock midnight and the lights are on and people are blowing whistles, there's going to be disruption. So it's our intent to try to control that with hours of operation.
In response to that, Bethune-Cookman is a real asset to this community. And everybody would like to see them get what they need. But we'd like to have some assurance that we're not really creating a bad situation for the neighbors who live around there.
Yes, sir.
And at the present time, we're the only thing that stands between.
Now, at the neighborhood meetings, we've met all of the adjacent property owners, and they had different requests. You're shaking your head, ma'am? What does that mean? We didn't meet with them? Well, the people that abut the site, and you know, if we haven't met them all, we need to find out what their issues are. I know we endeavored to meet with them all best we could, and I think if they were here, which they'll be notified about the next meeting, so hopefully they do come, that we've mitigated their concerns best we can. On the next detail, those are examples of where the fencing will occur and where the screening wall will occur. And basically, the screening wall is proposed where we abut residential. The one exception to that is where we abut the apartment complex. In that location, we have landscaping and a wrought iron fence for that small portion. But the southerly end of the field and the southerly side of the parking lot across the street have a screening wall. They also include, and you'll see on an exhibit after this, the oak trees at 30-foot centers, crepe myrtles, and hedging.
Now, there's hedging where we saw that wrought iron fence?
Yes.
How high is that hedging?
3 feet. It's material that can grow 5 to 6 feet, but at planting, it'll be 3 feet. The next slide, as a result of meeting with the budding property owner, immediately to the south, his concern was, when I explained to him the screening wall and what we had going on, he said he wanted to make sure that his backyard still drained and that the screening wall wouldn't cut off his drainage. So it's kind of difficult to see on you guys' print here, but on the left side of the drawing, there's a yellow line that's on his side of the wall. And basically what I did was I gave him a inlet and a perforated pipe that connects to the city system to ensure that he wouldn't have any water buildup in his backyard. That was his concern. McNorton, I believe, was his name. And he's been in a couple of meetings, and I think he's supportive. The next screen here is the screening wall elevation, and you can see on the right side, 6 feet tall, so there's a guy about my size, 5'10", not quite as tall as the wall, standing next to it. But if you were standing in the backyards of the homes that abut this, basically you'd see a 6-foot screening wall with columns at 30-foot centers, stuccoed with oak trees, again, at 30-foot centers, and in between them, a smaller understory tree, crepe myrtle or a holly. And again, this is an effort to provide screening and to help with noise abatement. The trees help knock down the noise. So this package that I just showed you was sort of the basis of our 4 neighborhood meetings. We kind of showed these renderings, discussed the project, got feedback from the neighborhood. So I think, Ken, I understand what you had asked, and we'll endeavor in advance of the meeting to get you something in writing. I think the board is going to need to be mindful, really, of the hours of operation. When I look at this, it is a practice field during the day when the football team's out there, the coaches are yelling at them, and they're blowing their whistles. That's what it is, and that's what we're asking for. And I think to maybe conclude and then answer some questions, we need to control the lighting. We got some input from the adjacent property owners on how late's too late. And of course, in the summertime, still light at 9 o'clock. If you're going to play at night, you might go to 11. Wintertime, 5:30, lights are out. So the lights would be coming on earlier. So that'll be a topic next week that we'll be presenting conditions and get your reaction to those.
My next question, you say this is a 2-year-old project in the making. And I do recall the last time that you all were here that this field was also labeled as a community field, meaning that if someone wanted to use the field for an event for the community, they would have been able to access the field. And that was per the president at that time. So at this point, you're saying because of the type of field, this would strictly be a practice field for Bethune-Cookman's athletic programs. No games.
Let me respond to that if I could.
Oh.
I met with the president this week. First time I met him, President Jackson. He indicated that when the football team's not using it, when the university's not using it, it's going to be available to the community. So, no, it's not just for Bethune-Cookman. It will be opened up to others in the community.
So it goes back to the question, if it's opened up to the community and it is a fundraiser where there needs to be parking and tickets sold, where are the spectators going to sit if there's no area for bleachers, as you stated earlier?
What we've done so far is initially when we first were contemplating this field, there was discussion about people parking on the main campus and walking over. As a result of our very first meeting on the building that's being built, What we've done is we put enough parking on our side of ISB to handle the requirements of this practice field and facility, so there's enough parking to support that. Now, if there's a special event where, let's say you have a Pee Wee football jamboree, that's a different animal altogether. We don't have the parking to support it, so if the community came forward and said, we want to have something that takes 500 parking spaces, there's a problem, so we won't be able to have that type of event.
Well, they do have parking at the Civic Engagement Center that.
The nursing school has a lot of parking also.
So my concern is for the community, based on what we were told. And as Ms. Benjamin said, we have a lot of gentlemen, the shade tree guys, that once the season starts, they go and watch every practice. And if there's buffers and nowhere for them to sit, although you said there's viewing in the building, and that comes under another thing with clearance and can they do it and are they allowed? My question is keeping that bridge with the community and the college. As I told the president at that time, when you come, let me state for myself, when you come before this board and I listen, when Denise listens, that 3 or 4 times they had to come back. If we had been told everything the first time, we probably could have approved what they wanted then, but because it was iffy and back and forth, you know, and so many things had to be changed, it just drew the process off to where it was pulled off. Now you're back before us. My main concern is that word community. You are addressing the concerns of the residents, but the community as a whole, if they are allowed to assess this field, they will want to be able to do it and be accommodated. So when you go back to the planning process with the college and whoever else, I would like for you to also include that when the college is not assessing it and they give permission, how do we accommodate spectators if there's no bleachers?
I've been going to some midget football games in Ormond. My nephew, my kids are older than that now, and when we go, we bring our lawn chair and we sit in a lawn chair, and that's how.
Hold on one second.
Before we get out of
I'm not going to get out of hand, I understand that, but what about people who drive and park next to the Civic Engagement Center and go to the practice field, who don't bring a chair, who don't bring a pop-up tent, who don't bring the coolers that convert to chairs? How do you accommodate them?
I think that's similar to the Ormond facility. If you go up where they have their practice fields, you park in a parking lot, you walk to the practice fields, and if you don't bring a chair, you're sitting on the ground.
Mr. Bitchberg, I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but when you go back to the college, and I approve of this project.
Yes, ma'am.
But if we're talking town and gown and bringing back community and wanting the community to support Bethune-Cookman, I think we need to address all the issues of being supportive to them. It's not just the parents. There are older people that come to events, and I don't know of too many people who go to a football game and buy a ticket and don't expect to sit on a bleacher.
Okay.
Well,
So I'm done with it.
I think maybe if I could just really quick respond.
Hold on. What I would like for us to do is, Parker, give them your phone number, because I want to make sure that all these concerns are addressed and they can talk to you one-on-one.
You're welcome to call me and I'll come visit.
Yeah, I want to make sure we stick to the issues right quick.
677-6891 is my office number.
I want to make sure all your stuff is into, your concerns are into the agreement.
Mr. Ivy, if I could respond, if the consensus of this board was you wanted bleachers, you got them. You know, but for one person that wants a bleacher, the next person might say, well, you're going to encourage more people to come here than the parking supports. But if it's the consensus of the board that we'd like to have some bleachers, you got them.
Do me a favor, state your number again in case they have some questions.
677-6891. That's area code 386. And I'm Parker.
And he is accessible. I've talked to him a couple times. He's very accessible.
I was getting my pen.
There you go.
Never mind.
677-6891. Maybe just for the board, I've lived in Daytona my whole life. I grew up on Michael Road, 1035 Michael Road, which is now kind of near Midtown. My second house was 1155 Magnolia Avenue. So I'm from here. We're going to try to get everybody happy, but there's a lot of people to get happy, so we're going to try.
You had any more comments, Ms. Cato?
Thank you.
Ms. Simonette?
Could I respond to a little bit what she was saying? The thing about it is that when you go to football field games for little children, you take a tent, you take something with you, you sit on the ground, you take some towels, and you just have fun with it. So it can be accommodated, and I know that our new president is really trying hard for the community and the school to get along. I don't know how else to say it, but we are trying real hard. And, yeah.
I was in my meeting with him. I think that is high on his agenda.
It is.
To reconnect with the community. You know, it's been kind of tough as a consultant when there's a lot of headbutting going on. So hopefully new president, new day, we start getting along a little better.
And at the school, we are trying. We're doing a lot of stuff, but trying to get the community together with us to agree with things.
Mr. Williams?
It's kind of catch-22. I do understand what Simonette is saying, but as well, you know, you think outside yourself. And when I think outside of myself, I think of grandparents who come to see football games and traveling, walking across the street. Personally, I'll bring my lawn chair and sit out there with a Coke, but I'm thinking outside of myself as well. And maybe there could be some middle ground reached where there be some accommodations made that, you know, that don't hinder the project. And I'd be out for that.
I think if we're talking bleachers, we can make that happen.
Dr. Jameson?
I'm one of those grandmothers who has 2 sets of lawn chairs in her trunk, so I'm ready for any softball or anything else. And I just like the progress that you've made in terms of responding to the residents around there.
Yes, ma'am.
So I have a friend who will be there with his lawn chair at every practice.
Ms. Benjamin? Mr. McGee? Parker, one of the things I want to sit back and look at, thank you for that good presentation.
You're welcome.
But what I think really should happen is that the project was brought to us really the wrong way.
I agree with that.
And we asked that it was brought in phases and get approval all at the same time. So I think in order to expedite this, because the project has already been started and has already been approved by this board, if you really sit back and look at it, if you was doing a project, the project is approved and then there's phases that are done that a developer or a person would come back to the staff with the recommendations from the board like we're given and let staff take it over and move it on through the system. So if that's fine with this board, and then I want to make sure that you got any concerns be addressed to Charles and to Reed, that we go ahead along with the approval that we've already given them and let the staff continue to work out the agreements with the recommendations that has came from the board.
Mr. Chairman, I beg the difference. It was not approved. It says further down the line. We voted for what's up there now. The field was not approved.
Okay, I understand. I'm just looking at options. But if that's okay with the board, let's take it on to the staff, and or if you want to have a vote tonight,
No, it's discussion.
discussion. It's only a discussion.
Yeah.
Okay, but make sure that these items are in the recommendations or in the agreement that you have, and when it come back, bring it as an action item, or if we need it, we need to go ahead and get it done at this point. Are there any other questions?
Thank you for your time this evening.
All right. Next thing we have is public comments. If you want to speak, 2 minutes, please. parking. Also, can you let her touch the, field, the turf? Okay. It's, Ms. Cato.
I know this discussion is closed. What's the difference between this and the stadium, or is it the same?
It's the same.
Well, what?
It's the same type of, we're going to be another year or so newer. Okay.
Okay, Ms. Ponder.
Sorry about that.
I'll let you do that one time.
All right, I won't do it again.
No, you won't. Johnny Ponder, 885 Mailey, Daytona. We had a lot of things on to talk about tonight. I'm with Ms. Benjamin. The Midtown Board never approved the practice field.
I stand corrected.
Thank you very much, because I was chair at that time. Just be careful of what you ask for, because it may come back and bite you in the butt. So let's just be wary. Again, the master plan is so important to this board and this community. We must make it clear to staff and the city commission, which I was with Mr. Ivan, we spoke about that last time, and we will speak again about that. The master plan needs to be the master plan. And never tell us what we can't do. I know some people tell us what we can't do. There's no such word as can't. Right. It's just something that you haven't tried yet. And we're going to continue to try. And we're going to make things happen in Midtown for the good. And whether we have to keep coming back over and over, we're going to keep doing that. Nobody's going to tell us what we can't do because it hasn't been done. Okay, but we're going to still do it. And that's why we have Professor Hoffman coming back to help us to do some things and to make some changes. So we're going to attempt that, and we're going to make that happen, no matter what.
Thank you, Ms. Ponder.
John Nicholson, 413 North Granbury Avenue. On your trees, I ask that you consider a 6 caliper. That's how fat they are. If you see the trees that the city allows, they're kind of dinky. If any of you have ever been on Seabreeze, the Wells Fargo, it's been there like 7 years. They've grown about 3 inches. So these trees are planning to go around to shield. Will probably take 20 or 30 years to stop any noise. So I'm asking you to think about a larger caliper and also a feeding program. It's something simple. They just feed certain chemicals, and it creates the tree to grow, a lot of nitrogen and whatnot. So the city does not require that. You may want to do that. Secondly, if you've seen in the paper the education, black-white ratios and whatnot, it's a lot of baloney. They're trying to gear it one way. But several years ago, I came before you to discuss the quality of education, that the neighborhoods will grow when there is good schools. You guys lose $2 million a year when the school system ships out your kids. Your kids are valuable, all right? You need that in the community. You need the schools. When Bonner closed, you lost a walkable school. You have Troy T. Small, which is walkable. Bonner is not. It's gone. The city, luckily, put in something where they couldn't sell it. They asked not to sell it. So the school board has not sold it. A school could be built back at Bonner. But the previous board did not consider education of value and did not back saving Bonner. I'm asking you to realize the value of education when people look at homes. They want good schools. I have a neighbor that still thinks that Campbell and Troy T. Small have old books that whites don't want anymore. They have leaking roofs, they have termites, they have all this stuff from the night, because he went to school in the 50s. It's not like that anymore. These schools are new, they're quality schools. All you have to do is back them, and it will increase your neighborhood. Thank you.
Are there any more comments?
Nelson Hill, 624 Willie Drive. And I'd like to comment on you guys on what you're doing for Midtown. But right now I have a concern about South Street. The city tore up South Street down by Campbell near Keach Street last Friday, I think it was. They left a hole in the street going west, right at Keach Street. And if you run in the speed limit, you can almost tear up your front end. Next week, school is going to be starting, and if they're not going to come in and smooth that out, somebody's going to tear up their cars. And if we know that the city, he said that the city was responsible for the street out there on MLK. If they can get some roundup or somebody, I'm quite sure they have enough employees. If they don't, they can issue me some roundup, and I'll go out and spread the whole area. Thank you.
Thank you for coming out, and we thank you for your comments. South Street is not in our redevelopment area, but we'll make sure to get the public works. And we really appreciate those comments because that is a part of the community as a whole, sir. So thank you very much. This time we have board comments. Ms. Cato?
John, why don't you take your friend or tell him, take some pictures, put him in your car and show him Campbell and Turkey, since he still thinks that way. Hopefully everybody voted today. I've been doing a lot of reading in the local news journal, and I saw an article about Reed speaking next week. Is it next week or next month?
Next Friday.
Yes. New businesses. Once again, I drive through Midtown, and I'm just surprised at the businesses that open, and they have not come before our board. Right next to G.I. Jeff's, there's a new T-shirt shop where you can buy a T-shirt, and they will put anything you want on it, and they're in violation. Their sign covers the entire door. You can't even see. They have, I think, 3 panes of glass, and they are covered from the bottom to the top. Brand new business. And I'm saying, okay, here we go again. People that want licenses, businesses can't even get them because...
How long they been open?
I know at least a month, because me being nosy, I went to the bail bondsman on the corner and asked him, you know, when did they move in? He said this was something almost overnight.
We need to make sure we check on that code.
The next thing is, I just want to know from the city, if Ms. Bryant owns property and she has a strip mall and she restores, what is the process for getting the licenses? Because I'm noticing a lot of businesses in Midtown are letting people move in, and when you go in, me with being nosy, I see no license. And then when I'm real itchy, I ask, and they say it's through the landlord. So as a business owner, aren't they to occupy a business license regardless if they're in a strip mall paying rent to a landlord? Okay, we have some serious issues in Midtown. And the next thing, the business right behind Buck's Gun Rack driveway, it says it is a restaurant rental place. Now, John, archaic, it's disgusting. Their driveway, you cannot even get in there. You have to park on Martin Luther King.
It's the blue building, Reed. Make sure.
You go into the driveway, it's potholes and trash and old restaurant equipment. I don't know if they're stripping it and selling it for weight. You go into the business, the office is it's just disgusting. Cats and couches and paperwork piled up. You go into the actual business, and you can tell that this stuff has been sitting for years, and I'm wondering, is this a front for something else? Because there's nothing appealing for you to turn off. What caught my eye was the overgrown bushes and the driveway. And I brought this up to my Eddie Lopez. He said, I will check it out. He hasn't got back to me because he said they've been bombarded. Say it's just unbelievable the areas they have to cover. But my concern is this: we want industry, we want jobs, but who's going to come into our area, industry, when they see that this might be my neighbor, and if he treats his property this way, I don't have to invest. A young man stopped me in Walmart yesterday, and someone made the comment about Midtown being rental. I would say 99.9% of Midtown is rental property. He said the prices for rental space in Daytona is disgusting. They had an article on Mr. Pikett and his brother, who just opened up a sneaker outlet in South Daytona. His mother left Daytona and went and opened a shop up 3 doors down for them because of the atmosphere and the rent. So it goes back to what I'm saying. The landlords, I don't know what the deal, they're so hungry for money that they're letting people come in unlicensed, but then they're also setting the rentage so high, and we know it's out of whack, that people can't afford to open up a small business. The article about the law school and the article about Orange Avenue, I circled the word may in that article about Orange Avenue, because May says a lot when it comes to funding. And the rain that we're having, I almost violated the sunshine law, but I said it's not worth it because the city knows. 4 intersections were flooded yesterday in Midtown. Everything that happened with that flood, and I'm going to harp on this until we get it done, every issue that was major outside of Midtown was fixed. I want to know, are the ponds dredged to get all the lilies out that choke up the pipes? Have they been dropped? And are they being monitored? And are the pump stations working? Or are we going to go through what we went through again, to where when it's time to drop it, it's not working? Just my concern. So other than that, that down payment program, so many people ask about the programs with redevelopment, with housing and everything. Their number one concern is, how can you pay for a house if you don't have a job that supports you paying a mortgage payment? I have people that are calling me for little itty bitty things, and I tell them, you have to go to the city. Go talk to Mr. Bryant. And Reed and Charles, that's our number one problem in Midtown. We have nothing in Midtown to support people who really want to be true homeowners outside of rental property owners. So hopefully, if this comes to fruition, the main thing about young married couples and single people who wish to be property owners, they want to live in the city and work in the city. The traffic that goes out I-4 every day and 95 South is unbelievable. The people that are community, but they live in Daytona. That's the end of my comments. Thank you.
You're welcome. I agree. Ms. Benjamin?
The only comment I have is that pertaining to the shop behind Bucks, and I've spoken with Charles about that one. And the other thing is, I just hope that when they start that project on Orange Avenue, that it will come from Nova Road and down to the City Hall, not start at Ridgewood and go the other way.
We got to rally the city commission. I'm sure we all will be rallying that. Anyway, yeah, thank you. Mr. McGee?
I have no comment.
Dr. Jameson?
No comments.
And Ms. Simonette?
Okay, the one thing, the park, he left. The park, I think there's a man who sleeps in the park, and we need to check on that.
Which
he has
park?
a bike down on Nova Road and George Ingram. In there's and I noticed I've been walking, and so what he does, he has his bicycle as pushed under his part. So if you're just walking, you don't realize that he's there with a bicycle. And then he lies down, and basically I'm convinced he sleeps in there. So I think somebody needs to be looking out for him. And because you don't feel comfortable when you're walking around and there's this man there sleeping and smoking and doing whatever he's doing. So I think we just need to check on that one.
Thank you. Charles, another thing I want to work on, as soon as Professor Huffman get here, we want to set a date for a workshop, again, dealing with this master plan right away, so we can get Professor Huffman in, so we can get some clarity on this master plan and redevelopment plan. So when he come on Thursday, I want us to set a date so we can get a workshop together. Okay. The next thing, like I say, I'll get with you guys tomorrow on the remaining recommendations for the redevelopment plan. Don't forget Thursday, 4 o'clock at the Midtown Center. Please, let's turn out and show. Did I skip you, Ms. James?
Nope.
Okay, Dr. James, I'm sorry. Okay, if not, I have a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion that we adjourn.
Second.
Second.
Thank you.